I didn't have the ethical right to remain silent. What would Stephen Miller's fate have been had the policies he so coolly espouses now been in effect in 1903 and 1906? The simple answer to that is he would not exist. Our family would have gone up the crematoria chimney along with the rest of the Jews of Central and Eastern Europe, and Western Europe for that matter. The Glosser family originated as far back as we can trace from the little townlet of Antipol, which was then in the Russian Empire. My ancestors, like most Jews in that area, were dirt poor. At that time in the Russian Empire, Jews were subject to an increasingly hostile environment: murder, theft, rape, mutilation. My great-grandfather was the head of a family living in a dirt floor shack, and so he followed his older brother to the United States in 1903. A constant feature of American history is that different waves of immigration come into the country. At the end of that period of immigration in 1924, 1925, as much as 13 or 14% of the United States population was foreign-born, which was a fairly high percentage at the time. And these were folks from the Balkans, from the Russian Empire, from Ireland, from Italy, from Wales, from any place you can imagine, in fact, and on the other coast from China and Japan. Unfortunately, one of the other elements that's a constant feature of American life has been what could be politely called tribalism, in which people identify with their own ethnic group and regard themselves as being the only genuine members of society.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
If you take a look at the newspapers of the day, you see reference to the new immigrant groups as being slime, thieves, terrorists, drunkards, murderers, etc. Almost exactly the same rhetoric which is expressed by our president.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
A certain group of folks in the country feel that they've been left behind by the 21st century, whose industrial jobs have disappeared suddenly, who find themselves not having had an increase in their wages or their standard of living since the early 1970s. The normal expectations that they had were overwhelmed by rapid changes in the economy and in society, which nobody could have foreseen, really. So now Mr. Trump wishes to blame immigrants for this catastrophe, and he does so by stirring up fear and hatred among people who have been displaced. These refugees who are seeking asylum here, who are fleeing from terrible regimes, he would have us believe that they're a threat to our national security. The immigrants that Mr. Trump and unfortunately my nephew Stephen are targeting for discrimination and for adverse action are people who are not white. They have determined that people coming from overseas are less likely to vote Republican. They're not buying homes in Princeton, they're not sending their kids to private school, they're not shopping at Whole Foods, they're not frequenting the fine restaurants of the region. And these are people that are just barely able to scrape by. People fleeing from war, from famine, from terror, from crime, from government repression. These are people who aren't coming here, on a lark or on an adventure. These are people that are seeking asylum wherever they can, who are just seeking to save their life and to secure their freedom. The fact is, the United States is really good at absorbing immigrants, as we can demonstrate very easily by asking anybody you meet on the street where their family came from originally. The immigration policies which he so fervently espouses, had they been in force in 1906, he would not have existed. A classic case of pulling up the ladder after you've gotten into the lifeboat.